Let's talk about the good old standard classic stakeout pole.
Fishyaker.com, the original kayak rigging video series.
Hey guys, if you go back to one of the very first Fishyaker videos I did about 10 years ago now, you'll see one where I made a stakeout pole out of a mop handle. It was an old shot mop handle. I cut the end of the mop off of it. I sharpened the tip of it down with a draw knife, and I drilled a hole in the top and tied a line to it with a swivel snap on the end of it. Thing worked great. I still have it to this day. It was basically free. I think I had the swivel snap, clip somewhere in my garage or something. I mean, I had a bunch of them sitting around, and I had a length of line that I wasn't using anyway. It was free. The sky's the limit. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of cool stakeout pole products out there, like the micro poles and, river stick, stuff like that. They're great products, very well designed. They serve a great purpose, but don't overlook the good old classic. This one here, for instance, if you want to go out and buy a commercially available product, this is a parking pole from Yak Attack. I carry these everywhere I go. I love these. You can get them in several different lengths. If you're not familiar with a stakeout pole, if you go to some place in the country called a Cajun toothpick, basically this is a shallow water anchor. It's got a tip on one end that's sharpened down. You can, when you're fishing out of a kayak, you can simply take this, stick it down to your scupper hole, through your side handle, through an anchor trolley, off on the side, and put a line to it, hold your ground. You name it. It also has a secondary purpose. It actually works real well as a wading stick too. They come in really handy for a whole bunch of different things. The one thing I do want to point out though, if you are using these in a scupper hole, be careful when you're sticking it down to the scupper hole you don't come in at an angle, because you have a rotomolded kayak, right? A lot of us do. Most of us do now. Most of our plastic kayaks that are sit on top, they're rotomolded, where the two parts of the mold meet. There's a seam around it, right? There's also a seam inside that scupper hole. So be careful when you come down to your scupper hole, the tip doesn't hit that seam real hard, because it can pop a hole in the seam. Just be careful with that. With that being said, that's where I usually use these. But you can go out, you can purchase a commercially available stakeout pole like this. You can look at that original Fishyaker video. One of them was, I don't know, one of the top first like 10 or 15 or so that were out there. But you can do that. That's going to be free. You probably got an old mop or a broomstick sitting around the house. You can use that, cut it down. I use the, like I said, you can use like a draw knife or even a knife itself. Cut down the tip of it. You need to have a sharpened tip on it. This, for instance, this is one of my shorter ones here that I have. It's simply a piece of 1/2-inch PVC. It does have a little bit of flex in it, but it's a shorter piece because I don't, I use this like on rivers and lakes and stuff, just in shallows, a shallow anchor. But here, I simply cut the tip of it down, use JB marine weld in it to plug the end also to make it a little bit harder down here on the end, so I can jab it down into a little gravel or something. And then the other end, I just put like, an angle joint in it, and I capped the end and glued it down real good. This thing works like a charm. It does have some play, like I said, because it's a thinner piece, but I'm not putting a lot of, pressure on this one because I'm in shallows and stuff usually around the shoreline. But if I wanted to go with a longer version of this, I'd probably upscale it a little bit or even put some type of dowel or something in it to give it some more rigidity. But again, as I say, you can use a piece of PVC. This thing here costs, I don't know, less than $5. I mean, you got the handle here, I think I got this joint here and the cap for $2 and some change. You can get like an 8-foot section, a 1/2-inch here for what, like $2-3? So you're looking at less than $5 for this. Really cheap, really easy. You may have some of this stuff sitting around your house. Like I said, you can use a dowel. You can use a broomstick. You can use a mop handle. You can do just about anything. Or you can go out if you want to. These are perfect. You can go out and buy some really nice ones like this. They're very rigid. The tip holds a good point on it. Like the parking pole again, you got the eye here wearing a good grip on it. This stuff's really just ready to go. It's got a nice foam on it. This thing's just nice, ready to go right out of the box, right, basically. So you can do this, you can get a broomstick, you can do a piece of PVC. The sky's the limit. If you want to go ahead and get, one of the, more mechanized, either electrified or one with pulleys and so forth, like Bernie's River Stick, like the power poles, that type of stuff, go for it. If you got the budget for it, that stuff comes in handy. They're really cool. I love gadgetry as much as the next guy, but I've really gone full circle. If you knew me 10 or 15 years back, you knew that my kayaks look like a fighter jet cockpit. Right? So some of us have gone that way. To me, I've gone full circle. Maybe I'm getting to be old, I don't know, grumpy, I don't know. So people ask me all the time, what kind of fish finder do you use? Well, usually I don't use a fish finder. When I have a fish finder, it's usually pretty standard because I mainly am looking for the bottom structure, depth, and temperature. I don't use a whole lot of other stuff, GPS and so forth. I use a separate handheld GPS. So I've really gone, full circle. I've simplified. So with me, I love these simple manual stakeout pole concepts because I can simply lie them down in front of my cockpit. I can put them into a rod holder, or I can lay them down like in a rod holder next to the side of the cockpit. This stuff comes in really handy. They're super light, really easy to use. Just have to stick it in the in the boat when I'm on the way to the water, or in the car, in the trunk, you name it. But they're really cheap, really inexpensive. Most of us have stuff sitting around the house right now we can use to make these with, and it's a whole lot more affordable and inexpensive than getting one of these my more mechanized gadgets. Again, don't get me wrong, guys. A lot of the guys that make those are good friends of mine. They're really cool. I love the concepts. I dig them a lot. But if you're on a budget, or you're trying to go lightweight, not use as much on your boat, take a look at one of these options here. From just a couple dollars on up to a few tens of dollars, or on up to several $100s if you want to get something a little bit fancier. But stakeout poles are really the way to go. They come in very handy, especially if you're in water up to say 10, 15 feet deep or so, depending on how long you want to go with them. The sky's the limit. But don't overlook standard old school stakeout poles. There's something really easy, really inexpensive. You can keep these with all your gear. You can also have these as a redundancy, as a backup if you do have one of the mechanized versions. But if you don't have one, go steal your wife's broom, your mother-in-law's broom. She rides into town on it. Cut the tip of the broom off, sharpen it down. You got a stakeout pole. That simple, that easy. Piece of PVC. As always, please subscribe to the Fishyaker YouTube channel, like us on Facebook, and we'll catch you on the water.